The first film, Avatar, is more than a movie. It is a sci-fi classic, becoming arguably the most successful movie and movie series of all time for a number of reasons. Be it the expensive technology and CGI director James Cameron used to bring the world of Pandora to life, captivating the imagination of viewers is one reason. But the most important reason was the movie touched a real nerve in the psyche of millions. In the words of James Cameron, he said, quote, "There was a kind of dreamlike subconscious connection that people were actually unable to quantify verbally when they discussed it with their friends and so on. But there was something they were connecting with that we had to be well aware of, an element that I call the numinous," end quote. Now, what does numinous mean? Numinous is a term derived from the Latin numen, meaning arousing spiritual or religious emotion, something mysterious. It indeed tapped into some collective unconscious, ancient memory of who we once were in our mysterious past. The film truly sparked a deep yearning to journey back instead of destroying ourselves moving forward. The first film is set in the year 2154 on Pandora, a fictional Earth-like moon orbiting Polyphemus, which is a gas giant the size of Saturn. Pandora is located in the Alpha Centauri system. Humans who have depleted their planet's natural resources are engaged in mining Pandora's reserves of a precious mineral vital to the economy, known as unobtainium. The Na'vi, the blue race of humanoids indigenous to the moon, resist the colonists' expansion, which threatens the continued existence of the Na'vi in the Pandoran ecosystem. The Na'vi live in perfect harmony with every species that inhabits the moon, similar to indigenous peoples of our real world. It is no secret James Cameron's source of inspiration for the Na'vi was the native people of Earth, particularly Africans. The influence of African culture is undeniable. Native spirituality and esoteric symbolism runs rampant in this film. The truth is, the story of the Na'vi is the story of all native people on Earth. Eywa. Eywa, also known as the All-Mother or Great Mother, is the guiding force of life and deity of Pandora and the Na'vi. She is also described as a globally distributed consciousness whom all clans revere. The Na'vi understand that Eywa acts to keep the ecosystem of Pandora in perfect harmonious equilibrium and that all beings return to Eywa upon their death. The Na'vi follow theism and pantheism simultaneously. Some scholars call this panentheism. Panentheism is the belief that the divine intersects every part of the universe and also extends beyond space and time. The Na'vi certainly see the divine intersecting in all things, and they do not believe in God existing everywhere, but rather have experienced that God exists everywhere. In this case, the true God is the Divine Mother, Eywa. The Na'vi have an experiential understanding of universal consciousness and how this unifying divine feminine force consciously manifests itself into all beings. This universal consciousness is what they call Eywa. Throughout the film, Eywa is the one that becomes the many, and the Na'vi are all truly incarnates or incarnations of Eywa, or in other words, avatars of Eywa. Now, I can't help but draw the parallels with the Na'vi's way of life and the African way of life. I am someone who comes from the Igbo people of southeastern Nigeria, and we have a quite similar view on life. The Divine Mother, Eywa, is remarkably similar to the Igbo word Uwa, which means world. Nne Uwa is the primordial mother of the universe, and the ancient Igbos regarded the world, Uwa, as feminine in nature. The world is a mother matrix, similar to the Maya concept of the Hindus, Maya being feminine in nature, Maya being the world. Nne Uwa, properly pronounced Noah, is also called Nne Chukwu, and one of her manifest forms we call Earth is also called Allah, not to be confused with the Muslims, Allah. So Allah is Earth. In other words, the Earth goddess is Allah, yet at the same time she is still Neoa or Noa, just in a different form. So what I'm saying here is the Navi's Eywa is the Igbo's Nuwa, but in the form of the earth goddess that we call Allah. Alamwo, or the spirit world, is inhabited by the ancestors. Like the Navi, the Igbos maintain that those who die do not cease to exist, but rather return to the great mother of the underworld. Grace Augustine, the scientist who helps our protagonist Jake Sully transform into an avatar, dies after an attempt to save her life, and right before taking her last breath, she tells Jake, "I am with her." This is an example of her returning to the sacred source of Mama. Notably, we witness Jake go through a complete transformation from a hopeless materialist to a believer in the spirit realm, becoming more aware of the Navi way of life. In an emotional scene, Suthe, the best warrior of all the Navi, is dying, and right before his last breath, Jake says, "I see you, brother, and thank you. Your spirit goes with Eywa. Your body stays behind to become part of the people." The Three Laws of Eywa. The Three Laws of Eywa, also known as the Navi Way, are a set of ancient religious tenets handed down to the Navi by Eywa. These laws dictate the Navi way of life and restrict them from participating in any activity destructive of the environment and themselves. This is similar to the 42 laws of Maat under Kemetic law, also known as ancient Egyptian law. Maat is the Kemetic goddess of truth, justice, harmony, and balance, who is said to first appear during the period known as the Old Kingdom, but no doubt existed some form earlier. Interestingly enough, Ntiri's mother, who is the spiritual leader of the Omatikaya clan, has the name Moat. The name Moat and Maat is strikingly similar in sound, and truly, this was no accident by James Cameron. Furthermore, the law of the native peoples is commonly associated with the sacred feminine. In prehistoric and during the earliest epochs, African oral traditions teach us the first spiritual teachers were women who also maintain the eternal spiritual law. The Navi's spiritual leader, Moat, represents this ancient truth. In fact, the Igbo spiritual system is called Odinala, meaning that which is within the earth goddess. Odinala is an encompassing term that denotes the primordial spiritual laws and sacred traditions directing Igbo life and culture. Earth goddess prescribed laws are ultimately universal laws of existence, which transcends all life, as their source of manifestation is the all-loving, all-giving Mother Goddess Creator. By the way, Moat wears the traditional attire of the Maasai Samburu people of Kenya and Tanzania. The Samburu mythology traces the Samburu's origin to the god Nkai, who lives on Venus, a planet clearly visible in Samburu land. Legend has it, Nkai sent the Samburu to Earth via a long rope, later using the same interstellar rope to send them a gift to cattle. The Samburu flourished, but as time passed, the respect of the warrior class towards the elders began to fade, and their disrespect did not go unnoticed. Nkai, in a rage, sent forth a massive thunderstorm that severed the rope between Venus and Earth forever. Ironically, in esoteric circles, it is believed a race of blue people descended on Earth from the planet Venus, also the planet Sirius. It's a story for another day. Back to the film, though. The Tree of Souls. The Tree of Souls, referred to as Home Tree, is a giant willow tree that is said to be the closest connection to Eywa on Pandora. The tree is of such spiritual importance to the Navi, more so than any other point on Pandora. Besides being a connection to the Divine Mother, this is a giant tree that also works as a way for her to directly interact with the world through the seeds of the tree. The roots of the Tree of Souls are capable of initiating a neural link with the Navi, like with the Tree of Voices, which allows all of the Na'vi to unite. The Pandoran neural network is a complex arrangement where all the flora and fauna of Pandora communicate. Think about it as a series of uploads and downloads. This network can be accessed by animals and the Na'vi by using their cues, which is a part of many species' anatomy on Pandora. This network is a result of high electromagnetic forces from the local stars and the close proximity to Polyphemus. This results in an organic superbrain, or the primal consciousness called Eywa. The network allows the Na'vi to access memories, experiences, and their ancestors, giving them a link to their past. This is remarkable, amazing, as it sounds similar to what Theosophists call the Akashic Records, which is also called the Book of Life by the Gnostics. This Akasha is what gives seers and master adepts access to all that has ever happened in the past and what shall come in the future. Therefore, this is not exclusive to Pandora, as we see this reflected in our own world or universe. The superbrain concept is the foundational teachings of Hermetics or Hermeticism, which says that all is mind. The unified field is called Buddha mind by the Buddhists and Atman by the Hindus. Atman is defined as pure consciousness or self, since this unified field constitutes the highest reality, and that is the true identity of everything in nature. As we see on Pandora, every being is connected to the true self, Eywa. Further, in the earliest 1900s, archaeologists discovered very ancient bronze artifacts in eastern Nigeria at a site called Igboga, properly pronounced Igboga, and one of the artifacts was a distinct model of this unified field. The artifact is called the Igboga torus model, or the hyperball. The hyperball was created by the ancient Igbo scientists, which displays an intricate geometric pattern of lines, circles, and curves consisting of interconnected hexagonal shapes. It contains every math formula, every law of physics, every harmony, and every biological life form. Nigerian-born physicist and super scientist Philip Emeagwali, who is known as the father of the internet, invented his model of the hyperball to create the internet grid inspired by the ancient Igbo hyperball constructed by our ancestors more than 6,000 years before quantum field theory was introduced. What modern physicists have only recently discovered, ancient African scientists knew the science of unified fields, a system of cosmological knowledge, Afa or Ifa. In order for the Na'vi to connect to this field, they use their cues or neural whips, and they would act out a bond that they called Sahelu. Sahelu has several different uses for different creatures, but primarily it connects the minds of two beings, enabling the exchange of information between the two who connect. The bonding of cues, or Sahelu, with the mountain banshee is a rite of passage that all young Na'vi hunters of the Omatikaya clan must pass. This is an initiation into the world of non-duality. Humans have the same ability to connect with this field by opening the inner eye of wisdom, and initiation is necessary in order to do that. Once this inner eye is awakened, the initiate can experience the world of non-duality. All over the African continent and other indigenous cultures, we have clans who have their own initiation rituals with opening the celestial eye. In the yoga and tantra mystery schools, it is called the third eye or the Agnya chakra. And the key to opening this eye is by awakening the primal force known as Kundalini Shakti. She is the feminine creative power who grants yogis and master adepts the key to experience the spirit realm, or the space of total oneness. Now, throughout the film, we watch the Na'vi frequently greet each other, "I see you," by gesture of them extending their hand from their forehead. From an esoteric perspective to me, this is James Cameron referring to the all-seeing third eye that sees all, and its region in the human brain is the pineal gland. The pineal gland is the inter-organ, or physical organ, while the third eye is the intra-organ, or the metaphysical organ. Pineal gland, or the third eye, sits in between the two eyebrows. What the Navi are saying is the Eywa in me is connected with the Eywa in you, a translation of the Sanskrit greeting Namaste, which means the same thing. Namaste really means the God in me sees the God in you. I see myself in you. Dream hunt. Many Avatar fans are aware, but most everyday people don't know about the deleted scene from the first film that truly would have been another powerful teaching moment for viewers. Unfortunately, James Cameron, or maybe his handlers, thought it was best to cut it from the final production. This scene is called Dream Hunt, and it features Jake in his avatar body participating in a rites of passage ceremony in which the Na'vi seek their spirit animal. During a chemically induced trance caused by the sting of an arachnoid and a swallowing of a glowworm, they chant songs as the spirit moves. I find this ceremony not at all different from an Ayahuasca experience or ceremony, or an Igboga initiation practiced by the Bwiti people of West Africa. Igboga is an ancient African psychedelic and said to be the most powerful psychedelic on earth, at least that is known. It is the ultimate psychedelic ritual happening within secret societies in the African rainforest. Igboga is traditionally used to initiate members into the Bwiti spiritual sect, tossing initiates through a war of the self that can last for upwards of 24 brutal hours. It is known colloquially as the Mount Everest of psychedelics. Sadly, most Westerners know of Igboga's fraction form called Ibogaine. They know about it because of its capacity to relieve heroin addiction. That's what made it really popular in the West. Anyways, in this deleted scene, Jake goes through a similar episode as his consciousness shifts awareness and he suddenly leaps into the spirit world of Eywa. He leaves his avatar form and ascends into a powerful field of light and multidimensional beauty. This scene is moving and quite a roller coaster ride because it demonstrates the power of the sacred plant kingdom. And the reason why this is so important is because it was after this initiation that he was considered born again by the Na'vi people. Without this ceremony, Jake would not have Natiri as his lifelong mate because it was this initiation that certified him as a true Na'vi. Again, this is the reason why I think this scene would have been so important for James Cameron to include in the first film Avatar. Nevertheless, the most epic ceremony, in my opinion, probably because it's my favorite, is the scene in which the Na'vi performed a sacred ritual to save Grace's life. The entire clan linked their consciousness together and connected with Eywa for the purpose of soul transference. Chanting prayers and swaying from side to side enables them to move the soul of one individual consciousness into another body. This is a distinct contrast to the inorganic technology the humans use to transfer their own consciousness into an avatar body. And like today's Silicon Valley and insidious organizations like CERN, they're attempting to do what organic sacred technology has done for eons. The ancient natives know the key is to go inward. Furthermore, this scene speaks volumes about how advanced the ancient natives were, understanding you can perform rituals that are not life negative or super expensive projects that come at the expense of the natural world. The most emotional scene in Avatar is the destruction of Home Tree. If you happen to watch this in the theater back in 2009, you would know there were very few dry eyes in the audience. But why? Well, allow me to give you a bit of information before I answer that. Home Tree is a very ancient, massive 150-meter tree that the Omaticaya clan made their home. The circumference of Home Tree is great enough to house dozens of clan members. The tree is where the Na'vi sleep, weave, dance, and celebrate their connection to Eywa. The Home Tree sits above a large deposit of unobtainium. The Resources Development Administration, or RDA, is the most powerful corporation on Earth, and their sole reason for being on Pandora is to mine the precious mineral. Blinded by their greed to obtain this natural resource, the RDA demolished the tree without remorse. Now, Why were so many crying during this scene? The simple answer is compassion. The more lengthy answer is the RDA represented the same wicked colonial forces and corporations in our world who exterminated native peoples, destroyed their lands, and disrespected their gods, be it the so-called Aboriginals of Australia, the many clans throughout Africa, particularly the Congo, or the Amazonian peoples of the Amazon. These same imperialist forces and greedy corporations will more than likely be the ones responsible for paving the way towards a world that is unfit to live for humanity, all because they chose to conquer nature instead of coexist with her. Ironically, the RDA are doing the exact same thing in Pandora that destroyed their own home, Earth. A vicious cycle of self-destruction is highlighted in this scene where the home tree is destroyed. To me, this signifies the beginning of their transition into the water world of the oceanic Navi clan known as the Metkaina. Avatar 2, The Way of Water, is where we learn more about the Metkaina in this water world. Now, speaking of water world, this makes me think of very important esoteric knowledge that comes out of Africa. In order to appreciate and digest this, I kindly request that you have an open mind. The oral traditions of Africa speak of various beings who come from the Sirius star system, such as dolphins and whales, water humanoids, just to name a few. One wise man named Credo Mutwa, whose work changed my life nearly 20 years ago, speaks about this in great detail. There is no other seer on earth who has shed the greatest light on this subject like Baba Credo Mutwa. Baba Credo is a Sanusi and spiritual leader of the Zulu who broke his people's traditional rules by publishing a book in 1964 called Ndaba, My Children. He teaches us the Zulu have an ancient proverb which says, Uluwazi luvela uluandri, meaning the knowledge comes from the sea. He says, quote, our people believe many, many centuries ago a race of intelligent creatures of various kinds chaperoned the human race into this world to which we are in exile. And this race came into the sea to become what we call dolphins. Over the centuries, dolphins and whales sent knowledge via dreams to human beings. The whales told us all about God. The dolphins told us about wisdom and art and other forms of positive creativity. We black people believe that dolphins are not fish. They are people. They are saviors. They have kingdoms under the sea. End quote. Zulu oral tradition speaks of the dolphins as the savior, Amalengeto, or the one who saves. We also have the Dogon, an ancient tribe from Mali, who pay great homage to the Nomo people, whom are a race of amphibians who are said to have come from the watery world of Sirius. Yes, the Dogon describes Sirius as a watery world, a marine kingdom, probably similar to the world of the Metkaina. The Dogon said that these beings brought them great wisdom and knowledge. The Dogon, elder known as Ogotemili, says the Nomo were considered the spiritual guardians and the masters of water. According to the Sumerian text, the so-called Anunnaki were in fact not the first so-called gods on Earth. Races known as the Ancient Ones predated the arrival of the Anunnaki. The Ancient Ones referred by Baba Credo Mutwa and the Dogon tribe as the Nomo people. They had come from the Sirius star system many eons earlier and had created a very advanced culture. I'd like to note here, interdimensional and intergalactic travel is an ancient phenomena, and Africans have done this via a sacred process of dematerialization and materialization into other worlds after undergoing altered states of consciousness, quite different than what NASA, Elon Musk, and Hollywood depict intergalactic travel to be. However, I wonder if James Cameron knows of these African legends. I believe this is truth hidden in plain sight. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the Avatar 2 movie is situated in the Marine Kingdom. We are in the Aquarian Age, and it is an age of great transformation, transmigration, and liberation. It is the water spirits, or the masters of water, who shall oversee this transformative journey. Everything in the universe started from the primal ocean of consciousness. Water is essential, and connecting with this primal ocean of consciousness is the golden key to activate our leap into the future. At the lowest level of understanding of the neophyte, it seems Avatar only shares a theme commonly found in many Hollywood films. That theme is the white savior. In that sense, Avatar becomes no different than 12 Years a Slave, To Kill a Mockingbird, Indiana Jones, and Dancing with the Wolves. This white savior phenomena of rescuing the primitive, savage, uncivilized, and pagan races is not subtle at all, but really in your face. However, as I've shown here, this is an elementary analysis of the film, and to be honest, a very limiting one. I've shown this movie is so much more than that, and taking only that from the film robs us of deeper subliminal messages sent throughout the movie. At another level, Avatar highlights the destructive effects of human greed, corporatocracy, and technocracy. It shows the so-called white man's burden, where colonial overlords desire to civilize the unwilling pagans. It shows the dangers of westernization and how the annihilation of indigenous cultures eventually destroyed Mother Earth. Human ignorance with excessive consumption, environmental pollution, deforestation, and the worship of technology is all that destroyed the Earth. It shows the Na'vi live in a different paradigm. Unlike humans, they don't need artificial neural links, spaceships, and other technology to be advanced, whereas humans and their spaceship technology, holographic computers, do nothing but breed egotistical, selfish, and a bloodthirsty desire to control nature and other worlds. The theme of polarity expressed through the polar opposites of corrupted mind versus innocent mind, inorganic life versus organic life, selfish patriarch versus selfless matriarch, materialistic technology versus spiritual technology, transhuman consciousness versus pure consciousness. Also, we can't forget the elements of propaganda, social engineering, and predictive programming the Hollywood wizards include in this movie as well. But that's an entirely different story for another day. The more positive takeaway from this film is we can look at the world from two distinct perspectives, either from a spiritual perspective or a capitalist, materialistic perspective. Humanity should do the former. Do what the indigenous people have done for centuries. That is, follow the natural cosmic law, flow with nature, see oneself as the whole infinite ocean of consciousness, and simply go the way of the water.